Welcome everybody, and today we're going to be looking at a pilot mould sent to me by Diorama Debris. Now this particular pilot mould is to go with their English bond panels, and as you can see by the mould is an actual doorway. The doorway has a half arch at the top in brickwork, and it is done in the English bond. Now I've already cast parts out of this for the simple reason is I wanted just to have a look at the mould and see what sort of parts come out of it and match them up with the panels and things like that, because I am actually going to build a small demonstration piece using the doors, and there's another one coming up as well, a window opening as well. But we'll start with this one. As you can see, it's a silicon mould. It's got a raised section in the middle for the door opening. Now when this is cast, it actually casts a very thin line of plaster over the top of this, which gives it a little bit more stability for when it's actually being made. No, when you're actually sort of building with it. So I'm going to keep putting you on pause because I need to keep moving things back in and out. So that's a little look at the mould. As you can see, it's extremely well detailed, as all the moulds are from Diorama Debris. And we'll bring some parts in and we'll have a little bit of a look. Okay, this is what you actually cast out of the actual mould, and it is extremely nice. I do like this. Very nice half arch at the top of the door, and it's all done in English bond. There's also a space at the bottom for a step, which we will come on to in a minute. Now this bit stays in while you're building it, and then it just very easily pushes out to open up your doorway. Now the space at the bottom is left for a step. Now I do have another mould. I can bring this in, which also Diorama Debris sent me, and this actually makes sills. I will do a little bit more on that a bit later on, and the sills are like this, which you really need to get close to see the detailing on it, but these are the correct type sills to be actually, if I do this, keep my big hands out of the way, try and get it in there, which you can't. There we go. These actually sit through the actual wall as a proper sill. I'm not going to push that through, but that makes a sill up at the bottom, which looks rather smart, but we'll get more into detail on that a bit later, probably not on this video, so we'll take that out. So what we're actually looking at at the moment is this particular mould. Now Diorama Debris sent me this. All these sections were actually based on brickwork from a real house in France, which they did some close studying of. Now I will bring in, when I find some, there we go. We'll bring in a brick section. Now this is the English bond brick section, and as you can see, that joins up together absolutely perfectly with the English bond section, so you can use this, well, that's what it was made for, to actually go with the brick, the English bond section. Now there's already been a little bit of controversy over this particular opening. There has been people saying that there should be full bricks round the door and that the bond isn't correct, even though this is based on actual photographs from a house. What some people are saying are that there shouldn't be this piece here, it should be a full brick. Now, these people that are saying that can never have worked actually laying bricks. They are people that actually work on paper, because everything works on paper. To me, this bond is correct, and the simple reason is they're saying that because people don't understand how buildings go up. They just work on a drawing. That's the way the brick should go, and that's the way it works. Now, I'm going to try and roughly explain how this comes about instead of having a full brick. So I should put you on pause and hopefully get a bit of paper, and I shall explain to you. Right, I have some paper and a pencil, and hopefully I can explain how the coursing goes off. Right, to start off with, when you build a house, everybody knows you need to put a footing down. Everyone knows that. You dig a trench, you fill it full of concrete. So this is a side view of your footing. Excuse the non-straight lines, but so that is your footing in the ground and goes off in the other directions. Now, going back, most of the concrete was mixed either by hand or very primitive mixers, and the batches were all haphazard. And what happened was that as they laid the concrete and tamped it out, because there's only working to posts, you'd get a very, very uneven surface on the footing. Now the concrete would dry and the bricklayer would come in. Now the bricklayer would then set his levels up, i.e. he would put a brick on each corner of the footing and then pull a string line through. I'm going to try and draw a straight line. Now the string line would run right the way through, pulled nice and tight. And then he would get his ruler or tape measure and just go all the way along, checking to see if there's any hollows or hills. 9 times out of 10 there's always a hump in the concrete, and in bricklaying terms it's called a pig. So the bricklayer needs to bring this first course to level, and as this is a course that's below the ground, you wouldn't, you're not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. But I will point out, normally they would lay a header course all the way through, but if the concrete has got a big hump in it, they will change it round and go for a stretcher bond. Simple reason is that it gives more brick to actually cut, because if you've got a brick like so, that's the face of the brick, it's easier to cut a slight angle on a brick, or even cut a brick that way, than actually getting a brick on its edge and trying to cut that angle that way. Even with a hammer and bolster, it is rather difficult. Modern day technology, no problem, disc cutters and things like that, there'd be no problem at all. So they would use a stretcher bond and cut this all at different sizes to bring, where they'd actually work to the line to bring this first course up to level. They would do that all the way around the footing, get everything nice and level, and then they would start building their corners on the corners and take them up. Well, as they've led a stretcher course, the next course automatically would be a header course, and that's what they would do, is run a header course through, and then a stretcher course, then a header course, and so on and so on. Now, by doing that, by just changing the bottom course from a header to a stretcher, puts the coursing round the opposite way. Where this would have come as a full brick, it comes as a full brick and a queen closure. If it had been started with a header, it would be a full brick and the queen closure would be on the header course. And that's the reason why you get a slight deviation in the brickwork. I'm hoping I've explained that. So people can say, no, that should be a full brick yes, it should be a full brick, but no, it's still right, because they don't, people who say that are very not actually silly or stupid, is they're unaware of what has to be done in the ground before you get to this brickwork. So what they're saying is, yes, it's okay on paper, the theory is great on paper, but everything on paper doesn't always work. So hopefully I've explained that's the reason why now on this particular one you've actually got a queen closure, a smaller brick on this. And this particular mould, like I said, was actually taken from photographs of a French house. That's what they based all their reference material on. And by saying it's incorrect, it's not. It's still correct. It's just, well, that's the way building goes, I'm afraid to say. You have to adapt as you go along. So I'm hoping I've explained that clearly enough. And I'm going to leave it at that, because I don't want to go too far. Now, like I say, what I would like to do now is to actually do a building, use these openings, get these all fitted in with the panels, make some sort of bottom half of a building as more of a demonstration as well. They are talking about doing a left and a right-handed mould. They're actually talking about two moulds in one. So you've got a left hand and a right hand, because that's English bond. Because if we turn these two together, if you can see, it's a staggered joint, where English bond, it would be a full brick across, so it would be equally toothed out. Me personally, I don't see a great deal of problem, but there might be a problem turning a corner. But we'll come to that when I actually do a building. So thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one. The next one is going to be the window opening, and hopefully I won't have to go through so much explanation of the reason on that one as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.